And now we have more information on a story we brought you yesterday at 5. 40,000 elderly and disabled Oklahomans live in nursing homes or assisted living facilities. So chances are you know someone who lives in one. Tonight, Fox 23 has important information about just who else is living in those nursing homes with our fathers, mothers, grandmothers, and grandfathers. Clay has the results of a 2-month Solving Problems investigation.
Your problems are our problems. Fox 23 News uncovers rip-offs, tracks down dangerous drivers, and digs for answers. We don't just talk about problems, we get results. Fox 23 News takes on another problem right now.
Our investigation focuses on registered sex offenders who live in nursing homes and assisted living facilities in Oklahoma. They may be living in the next room, just a few feet from your loved one. This is happening, and most people have no idea. There are those who say this is a problem that must be addressed and without delay.
You could absolutely see his bones.
Sandra Stafford and her family know just how easily a loved one in a nursing home can become a victim.
Looks like stitches above his eye. What happened here?
Well, he's had stitches above both eyes and below. He's had cuts below both eyes, above and below. And their response to us was he fell out of the wheelchair.
Sandra says her 83-year-old father, Charles Nichols, was neglected, even abused, at a Tulsa nursing home in 2003. Those are bite marks.
Bite marks?
Cuban bite marks.
And they actually look like
You don't get bite marks from falling down.
No.
Since then, a new company has taken over. Neither the former operator nor the new manager would comment to Fox 23 because of the family's ongoing lawsuit. Charles Nichols now lives in another nursing home, but Sandra and her daughter, Cindy, have found a cause.
Our elderly are the ones that we need to be upholding. I mean, that's why all of us are here.
DHS is still monitoring this guy.
Wes Bledsoe runs an Oklahoma City-based nonprofit group called A Perfect Cause. His goal, to stand up for Oklahoma's most vulnerable.
My grandmother was a nursing home victim. She died on her 86th birthday in an Oklahoma City nursing home.
When Fox 23 started researching sex offenders in nursing homes, we got in touch with Bledsoe.
We know that there's neglect and abuse in nursing homes. We know all of this. We also know, unfortunately, that there's rapes, there's sexual assaults, and there's physical assaults. And many times, we know that those are by one resident against another.
Bledsoe did this study last year. It's called Predators in America's Nursing Homes. He compared the addresses of Oklahoma's registered sex offenders to the hundreds of licensed nursing homes across the state. And he came up with some surprising results.
We knew that Oklahoma had a registered sex offender list, which was the habitual and aggravated offenders.
Then he branched out and found 380 registered sex offenders scattered throughout nursing homes in more than 30 states, 25 of them right here in Oklahoma, in cities and towns across the state. Fox 23 took Bledsoe's research a step further. We compared area police department sex offender registries, which have been updated since Bledsoe's study, once again to the location of the nursing homes. We discovered 2 more registered sex offenders right here in Green Country. They report addresses at nursing homes in Pryor and in Sapulpa. We also confirmed 2 of the 3 offenders Bledsoe located in Tulsa still live in nursing homes. The other one has moved out.
At a nursing home, you don't get that. You don't get a key to a lock to your door. Your door is open 24/7. So if there's a violent offender, if there's a predator who is your roommate, who lives across the hall from you or down the hall from you, you have no protection from that person.
They don't want this out in the public.
Bledsoe's findings surprised Sandra Stafford and her family. She says a man in the room right next door to her father in his new nursing home was on Bledsoe's list. The man has died, but Sandra and Cindy now realize how important it is to know who lives in the next room, even in the same room as a loved one.
The reports that we found out ourselves on some of these criminals, horrific. It makes me ill. It makes me ill. And they were in there with these vulnerable adults.
Living in the next room over.
Living in the next room over.
In 15 minutes, our Solving Problems investigation continues. We will show you offenders who have offended again in nursing homes, putting some of our most vulnerable citizens at risk. That's ahead at 5:30.
Well, earlier in the hour, we told you about registered sex offenders who are living in Oklahoma nursing homes, possibly ending up in the next room as your loved one. Clay continues the Solving Problems investigation now. And Clay, you have evidence that some of those offenders have offended again.
Right, Cher. The critical question here is there a legitimate cause for concern? Do these offenders who live in nursing homes really pose a danger to other residents? Wes Bledsoe's study shows that some have offended again in nursing homes. Fox 23 has uncovered even more cases. Word of caution now. If you have children watching the newscast with you right now, some of this information is graphic and of a sexual nature.
He is charged with sexual battery. Here's his previous conviction. So
Wes Bledsoe points to cases where predators found their next prey in Oklahoma nursing homes.
The bottom line is we do have rapes, sexual assaults, and physical assaults that are occurring.
In 2001, 32-year-old Brian Barefoot was charged with 2 counts of lewd molestation in Muskogee. He pleaded no contest to a lesser charge. A judge ordered him to undergo sex offender counseling and to stay away from children under 18. He then moved to Meadowbrook, a facility for mentally disabled adults in Lafleur County. In 2003, a probation report says he had behavior problems weekly, including promiscuous sexual behavior with young, low-functioning women. The report also says he initiated group sexual interaction with several men and 1 woman. Barefoot was removed from Meadowbrook and is now in prison. 68-year-old Billy Ray McDaniel was not a registered sex offender in 2002, but he did have a criminal record. He lived at the Grace Living Center in Oklahoma City. A police report says a nurse's aide found McDaniel in bed with a female resident. The woman's gown was pulled up. He pleaded no contest to sexual battery and is now a registered sex offender. A Perfect Cause discovered he lived in a center for mentally ill men. Fox 23 checked with the center's owner, who said McDaniel left last year. His probation officer tells us McDaniel is now in an alcohol treatment center. Wes Bledsoe says these offenders were relatively young, but older criminals are a concern too.
But of the 30 that we had, that were in their 80s and 90s. Of those 30, 29 were convicted above the age of 59. As a matter of fact, of the 8 guys, 8 of these offenders were convicted in their 80s.
Fox 23 dug up a 2002 case out of Jacksonville, Florida. 83-year-old Ivy Edwards was a sex offender with a criminal history a mile long, living in a nursing home. Fox 23 obtained his arrest records, 59 arrests dating back to 1945, including sex crimes in 1963 and 1965. The wheelchair-bound Edwards raped a 77-year-old woman in her nursing home bed. Edwards is now in prison. But these are the kinds of cases that outrage Bledsoe.
It's inconceivable that anybody would find that it's appropriate to place that kind of violent offender, that predator, into a nursing home with our disabled and elderly loved ones who can't physically protect themselves or adequately report what's happened to them. When you put predators in with the prey, somebody's going to get bit.
A Perfect Cause has proposed a solution to what's happening in nursing homes, but the state says not so fast. There are more pieces to this puzzle of sex offenders in the next room.
We need to take swift and aggressive action right now to do something about this.
And he has a plan to protect our loved ones. At 544, 3 recommendations to keep the elderly safe. Plus,
these are our senior citizens who are the most vulnerable.
Fox 23 asked the governor what needs to be done first.
Fox 23 News at 5:30.
And we continue our investigation now on registered sex offenders placed in nursing homes with the general population. Earlier in the hour, we told you Oklahoma has a number of registered sex offenders living there. And we talked about cases where criminals offended again while in those nursing homes. Now Clay continues the Solving Problems investigation.
All right, Sheriff, Oklahoma lawmakers are considering a bill that would create new rules concerning sex offenders and nursing homes. It would create the Long-Term Care Security Act. If it passes, it would require law enforcement and the state health department to inform nursing homes when a sex offender plans to move in. Nursing homes would also be provided with the state sex offender registry, and background checks would be required for anybody who works at a nursing home, including volunteers and state inspectors even. But an Oklahoma City-based watchdog group for the elderly called A Perfect Cause that's not nearly enough to protect our loved ones from predators who might be in the next room.
How many long-term care residents are being raped?
Sandra Stafford, who says her father was neglected at a nursing home, took the problem to the state capitol.
If your loved one was living in an Oklahoma nursing home, how would you feel if there was a predator under the same roof with no locked door between them?
There is a motion and an order from the court.
Wes Bledsoe, with A Perfect Cause, says the state needs to do more.
We're all responsible for what's happening here. We all have a duty, a responsibility. And right now, having these women being raped, sexually assaulted, physically assaulted, it's not acceptable.
And Bledsoe says the state needs to go even further than the Long-Term Care Security Act. His first recommendation, that the state track not only offenders, but assaults in nursing homes too. Second, he wants background checks for all residents as well as employees. Third, he says offenders should be housed separately. Dozens of nursing homes statewide have shut down, like this one here in Broken Arrow. Bledsoe says these could be reopened to provide a better place for people with criminal histories.
And in that separate facility for the offenders, we need to have staff that's trained at a higher level to deal with their psychosocial needs, to deal with anger management issues.
The chair is preparing to close.
State lawmakers say that's too much, too soon. We even approached Governor Brad Henry on the topic.
I understand Wes Bledsoe's points, and there's always more that can be done, but there are certain limitations through the law, through the Constitution, as well as monetary restrictions, too.
Governor Henry says the first step needs to be background checks for all employees.
These are our senior citizens who are the most vulnerable, and we have a moral obligation to provide them with the safest environment that we possibly can.
Turn on his side.
Sandra Stafford and her family say protect the elderly at any cost.
Society as a whole is going to have to change, and they're going to have to make some new rules or regulations.
And they wouldn't want to see anyone else in their family become a victim.
I think she's very vulnerable. She's a very vulnerable elderly person.
You're in your home, and you're not someplace else.
Yeah. I wouldn't ever be in nursing home.
We also talked to the State Secretary of Health, who told us he plans on adding more inspectors to review safety in nursing homes. Also, we checked on the status of the Long-Term Care Security Act. It is moving along, headed for a legislative conference. Of course, we'll let you know what happens. Shira.
And here is some more information for you. The findings of the group of Perfect Cause have also sparked a federal investigation by the Government Accountability Office. A GAO spokeswoman tells Fox 23 News her office is matching even more records to see how many more sex offenders or prison parolees live in nursing homes. The GAO says the study should be completed by the end of the summer.
Breaking news, breaking weather, solving problems. This is Fox 23 News at 9.
Fox 23 News uncovers a sex offender living in a Tulsa nursing home, and he is not registered.
These new developments come after a Fox 23 Solving Problems investigation last week when we revealed sex offenders are living in Oklahoma nursing homes statewide. We have now found one of the offenders we showed you in our report living at a Tulsa nursing home. Here's a Solving Problems exclusive.
Following our investigation last Tuesday, Fox 23 received information that this man, Billy Ray McDaniel, now lives at the Green Park Nursing and Rehab Center in North Tulsa. Our Solving Problems report showed that while McDaniel lived at an Oklahoma City nursing home in 2002, he was found in bed with a female resident and her gown was pulled up. McDaniel was convicted of sexual battery and moved from one nursing home to another. The Department of Corrections does not have a current address. When Fox 23 got the tip he lived here, we notified McDaniel's probation officer, then confirmed with Tulsa police that McDaniel is at Green Park. Today, Wes Bledsoe, who runs A Perfect Cause, an Oklahoma City-based watchdog group for nursing homes, paid the home a visit. Bledsoe has done extensive research on sex offenders in nursing homes. Fox 23 went along as he confronted the administrator.
I wanted to come in and take a look around if I could.
Oh, I can't allow you to do that.
Why not?
What is the Privacy Information Act, the HIPAA laws?
Are you familiar with who Billy Ray McDaniel is?
No comment.
Are you familiar that this is the information that's on the sex offender website right now?
No comment.
Administrator Mark Ferris has no comment.
I have no comment.
Again?
No comment.
And again.
No comment.
Do the other residents in the facility know that there's a registered sex offender living on the premises?
No comment, sir. This interview's over.
Are you familiar with the fact that Billy Ray McDaniel pled no contest to sexually assaulting a nursing home resident in September of 2002?
Again, the only thing I will give you at this time is the name and phone number of our attorney.
Tulsa police tell Fox 23 Green Park administrators didn't know that McDaniel is a sex offender, and they are working to get McDaniel out of Green Park and into another facility. That, too, worries Bledsoe. He says there needs to be a better system to keep track of offenders.
And here's a man who is a registered sex offender. He's an aggravated sex offender. He's in the past, and within the last 2.5 years, he has sexually assaulted another nursing home resident. Are the residents in that facility safe from this sex offender? He's already proven that he can do it once. Can he do it again?
And some more information this evening. Fox 23 News has tried 5 times to get in touch with the attorney for Green Park Nursing and Rehab, but his receptionist said he was in a meeting and couldn't return our calls. Tulsa police tell us the nursing home has cooperated with detectives and that McDaniel could be out of Green Park as soon as tomorrow. Right now, nothing in the law forces the state to notify nursing homes when offenders move. It's up to offenders to register with police each time they move.
So what do neighbors think about offenders living so close? Fox 23's Jana Clark is live outside of Green Park Nursing and Rehab. And Jana, you talked to some worried neighbors tonight.
I sure did, Shara. You know, all the neighbors who live around here say the same thing. They had no idea that a sex offender is living in this nursing home. The nursing home staff did not want us on their property, so we weren't able to speak with the residents. But neighbors tell us they're worried for the people who live inside, as well as for the people who live around the nursing home. They say there's a reason sex offenders are supposed to register, and they're glad that now they know to help keep their families safe.
It's honestly quite disturbing. We've got 9 grandkids that are over here from time to time, 2 or 3 at a time, or all of them at a time, and it's quite a surprise. I just don't feel like that ought to be happening without us knowing.
Neighbors I talked to say they know sex offenders have to live somewhere, but they don't want sex offenders living near them. Not all the neighbors agree with this, but some say sex offenders should not be allowed to live in nursing homes at all because most of the residents are elderly and can't protect themselves. Live in North Tulsa tonight, Jana Clark, Fox 23 News.
Thank you, Jenna. And here are some more details. A bill now in the state legislative conference would require the Department of Corrections and the state health department to notify nursing homes when a registered sex offender plans to move in. Nursing homes would then have to post a sex offender registry. We'll let you know if and when that measure passes. Fox 23 has new information tonight on an exclusive story that we first reported last night at 9 o'clock.
Police say a sex offender at a Tulsa nursing home has until tomorrow to properly register his address. Fox 23 got a tip that led us to Billy Ray McDaniel. McDaniel was convicted of sexual assault on a woman in the Oklahoma City nursing home where he lived back in 2003. Tonight, a follow-up to our Solving Problems investigation.
Fox 23 was the only station to go along yesterday as Wes Bledsoe, who runs a non-profit nursing home watchdog group, paid a visit to Green Park Nursing and Rehab.
Are you familiar with who Billy Ray McDaniel is?
No comment.
Are you familiar that this is the information that's on the sex offender website right now?
No comment.
Now, Bledsoe wants to know what's next for Billy Ray McDaniel.
We'd just like to know where he's going to go from here.
Corrections officials say Green Park wants McDaniel out, and probation officers are still looking for a new facility.
And what we'd like to do is we'd like to see the state do a better job of tracking the registered sex offenders. We'd like to see these registered sex offenders stay out of nursing homes with non-offenders.
Meantime, Fox 23 uncovered records about Green Park. Inspectors noted 34 deficiencies between 2003 and 2005. The average number of deficiencies in Oklahoma is 10. Wes Bledsoe's group, A Perfect Cause, notes several complaints of abuse and neglect between 2000 and 2003. More than a half dozen were substantiated. In 2003, Bonita Pfeiffer, who suffered from Alzheimer's, walked away from Green Park. Her body was found weeks later in Mohawk Park. And here is more information. Detectives tell Fox 23 that Green Park administrators say McDaniel moved into the facility last Friday. That was May 6th. Fox 23 got the tip that he was already living there on Tuesday, May 3rd. Calls to the nursing home's attorney and owner went unanswered again today, and the owner of a mental health facility McDaniel lived in last year tells us McDaniel is an alcoholic and suffers from dementia. Nothing in the law forces the state to tell nursing homes when an offender moves in. Lawmakers are considering a bill to change that. A sex offender, Fox 23, located in a Tulsa nursing home, is now properly registered. This is a follow-up to a story we've brought you first this week. Now, here is a new photo of Billy Ray McDaniel, who lives at Green Park Nursing and Rehab in North Tulsa. The Department of Corrections says he may soon be moving out of that nursing home. According to information Fox 23 received, McDaniel had been living in Green Park at least a week before he registered as a sex offender. McDaniel was convicted of sexually assaulting a female resident in the Oklahoma City nursing home where they both lived back in 2003. Tonight we have a follow-up to a story Fox 23 broke this week. A sex offender is now out of a Tulsa nursing home and in jail. Fox 23 got word that Billy Ray McDaniel was living in Green Park Nursing and Rehab but had failed to register as a sex offender. He registered with the police on Wednesday. But administrators at Green Park still wanted him out of the home. Police moved him to the Tulsa County Jail last night. McDaniel will be transferred to Oklahoma County, where a hearing will be held about where he should go next. McDaniel was convicted of sexual battery on a nursing home resident in 2003 at an Oklahoma City nursing home where they both live.